وبه نستعين وهو خير ناصر ومعين. الحمد لله الفرد الأحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا ونبينا وشفيعنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرضين بأبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتخبين المنتجبين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال مولانا أمير المؤمنين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. العلم وراثة كريمة، والآداب حلل مجددة، والفكر مرآة صافية. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Respected Mu'mineen, as you all know that we are discussing the Nahj al-Balagha, and specifically the last portion of Nahj al-Balagha, which contain some words of wisdom. Those are uttered from the holy mouth of our beloved Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And over there, the next segment or the next word of wisdom, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Al-ilmu wirathatun karima. So over here, Imam, he discussed three important ni'mat or the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one, he says, Al-ilmu wirathatun karima, that knowledge, it is an inheritance which is precious and which is kareem and noble. And then he says, Wal adabu hulalun mujaddada, and adab, etiquettes, akhlaq, good akhlaq, is a dress which never ever get old. And then he says, Wal fikru mir'atun safiya, thinking, pondering, contemplation is a mirror which is clear mirror, which gives you a clear picture. So these three words of wisdom Amir al-Mu'mineen mentioned. So number one thing, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he talks about the knowledge. He says it is a wirasatun karima. It is a wirasa. You know, wirasat or miras, sometimes we use this word. So all of them, they are from the same root word. What is the meaning of miras? Miras means a property or a wealth which you achieve without any transaction. Miras, for example, someone passed away and you don't have to pay for it. You receive, something out of the miras or out of the inheritance. This is the definition of the miras. And we have two types of miras. Sometimes we have a miras which is materialistic miras. For example, you receive from your ancestor when they pass away, you receive some wealth, or let's say you receive a house, you receive, money. So this is called materialistic miras. Sometimes we have a miras which is spiritual miras. You receive, for example, from them their etiquettes, their good, their knowledge, their ideas, spirituality you receive, or some, let's say, habit of having, doing good things. So norms you receive from them. So they are called spiritual inheritance. So over here, Amir al-Mu'mineen is talking about the spiritual inheritance, which is more important than the physical one. However, sometimes even physical inheritance also very important. But Amir al-Mu'mineen is talking about the second one, spiritual one. Sometimes you receive, for example, a wealth, money. So maybe that is a blessing money, and with that you achieve the Jannah. With that you achieve the high station nearby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when it comes to spiritual, inheritance. So Amir al-Mu'mineen says one of the spiritual inheritance which you receive or which you get, it is knowledge. And this knowledge, it is very precious. Knowledge is something which does not get old. Knowledge is something which never ever decrease. If you receive wealth from your ancestor, the more you use, the more it goes away, the more it diminish. But when it comes to knowledge, knowledge is not something like that. That is why Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they emphasize a lot to gain as much as possible knowledge. Why? Because knowledge, it is a verasatun karima. It is a noble or precious inheritance. And that is why, we have a hadith of our beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Over there he says, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. Gaining knowledge, it is a wajib, it is an obligatory upon each and every Muslim man as well as on Muslim women. So our deen, our religion, it says, gaining knowledge, it is wajib, it is a fariza, it is an obligation that a Muslim has to gain knowledge. But if you look at the other religion or other sects or other, faith, you find that knowledge is not wajib among their faith. But Islam, and especially the maktab of Ahlul Bayt, the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt, it is so beautiful a school which always encourage, which always emphasize, put pressure on a Muslim to gain as much as possible knowledge. And you see in the world, there are many madhahib. You are not allowed to gain knowledge, for example. Look at the Hinduism. In Hinduism, you are not permitted to gain religious knowledge unless you are from a certain tribe. Let's say the Brahman among them. They are only eligible, they are only permissible to, they are only permitted to gain the knowledge. But other sects or other people, they are not allowed to gain the knowledge of the religion. So you have to be just blind and follow them. But religion of Islam is not like that. Religion of Islam, it says no, you have to have knowledge. And Quran says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. That always question. Question from those who have the knowledge. So فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you do not know something, you have to ask, you have to explore, you have to find out the answer. And why Islam is emphasizing so much? Because al-ilmu nurun. Ilm, knowledge, is a nur, it is a light. And what is the functioning of light? When you put light somewhere, so the things get clear. Let me give you an example of this. For example, if there's no light on, it is all dark over here. If you put on one light, so what happened? The picture get clear. And if you put more light, so what happened? The picture get more clear. It get clearer. And when the light comes, so the beauty of center, let's say this room, beauty of member, and everything will be, open. Everything will be immersed, and you will be, happy by looking at the beauty of that. But if put light somewhere which is not beautiful, which is ugly, for example, so the more light you put, the ugliness will be revealed. So Islam and Ahlul Bayt, they have so much faith on the beauty of Islam. So that is why they say that you have to gain knowledge. The more knowledge you will gain, the more beauty of Islam, beauty of religion of Ahlul Bayt will be open for you. So knowledge, Ahlul Bayt, they never ever have fear about the knowledge. They say you should learn knowledge. And that is why the other religion or other sect, those who say that you are not permissible to gain the knowledge, because they know the defect of their religion, they know the problem of their madhab or their school of thought. So that is why they put ban on it. So Amir al-Mu'minin says, al-ilmu virathatun karima. The knowledge, it is an inheritance which is noble inheritance. And of course, once upon a time, Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, he was sitting in Masjid Kufa, and a person comes to Imam. And this riwayah, it is a very famous riwayah, but we have to think about it, huh? Because you may have heard from many ulama. So in past, I don't know recently, but in past, our ulama, they used to recite it, you know, so many times, and it was so common among us. So this, Amir al-Mu'min, he interpreted, before I come to this riwayah, let me give you this beautiful understanding. Amir al-Mu'min over here, he interpreted that al-ilmu virathatun karima. The meaning of kareem, what is the meaning of kareem? Kareem means a person who always have habit of giving. Even if you go to him, and you do not even mention to him that you are in need of something, he will give you without even you ask him. So such a person is called kareem. So knowledge, Imam says, virasatun karima. So knowledge is like a kareem. Even if you do not ask from the knowledge, but it gives you, huh? It is a kareem. It will, knowledge itself, it is a generosity. So knowledge, if you have knowledge, so you have generosity essence within yourself, which is always blessing you, which is always benefiting you. So look at this riwayah. Allama Bahraini, he mentioned this riwayah in his book, which is called Al-Kashkol, Kashkol al-Bahraini. So he said, once upon a time, Amir al-Mu'minin, he was in Masjid al-Kufa, and a person comes and he said, "Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, tell me, knowledge is better or the wealth is better?" Imam said, "Al-ilmu afdal min al-mal," that knowledge is better than the wealth. Why? So Amir al-Mu'minin, he mentioned there, because knowledge, it is an inheritance of the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And wealth, it is inheritance of Shaddad, Qarun, Namrud, and Harun, and so on. So knowledge is always inheritance of the prophets. So the other person into mosque, and masjid is full with the people. So this man, he stands before the Amir al-Mu'minin and asks the same question. "Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, tell me which is better, knowledge or the knowledge or wealth?" Amir al-Mu'minin respond the same. He said the knowledge is better. But here, second time, he gives the different reasoning. He said knowledge is better because when it comes to knowledge, knowledge protects you. It gives you protection. But if you have wealth, you have to protect the wealth. Wealth is not going to protect you. You have to, wealth is in need of protection. If you put it openly, so it will be lost. You have to provide the protection. But knowledge, it itself protects you. And then third person comes and he sits down. Third person comes and he asks the same question to Amir al-Mu'minin. So, and he said, "Ya Mawla, can you tell me which is better, knowledge or the wealth?" So Imams respond the same answer, that the knowledge is better. So Imam over here, he gives a third reasoning. He said the person who has knowledge, he has more friends, many friends. But the person who has wealth, he has more enemies. So now you can imagine which would be the better. You want to have more, friends or more enemies. So Imam said, knowledge brings friends, and wealth brings, hasidin, or the, enemies. Number four person, another person enters, and he asks the same question, and Imam respond the same. And he said, the knowledge is better, and it is better because knowledge is something, the more you spend, the more it increases. And the wealth is something, the more you spend, the more it decreases, or goes down. Your credit get down. And number five, another fifth person comes and he asks the same question, and Imam respond that the knowledge is better. Why? Because a person who has a lot of wealth, people regard him that he is a stingy person. However, he is not stingy. But many people, those who do not receive from him, so they call him that he is bakhil, he is stingy. But the person who has knowledge, so always he is respectable in the eyes of all the people. So this is the fifth answer of Amir al-Mu'minin. Recite Law Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sixth person enter and he asked the same question. So Imam said knowledge is better than the wealth. Why? because if you have wealth, wealth is always has the danger of theft. But knowledge is something which does not have any, danger of the theft, because it is in your chest, it is in your mind, it never ever be stolen. And seventh person enter, and he asked the same question. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he said, because knowledge is better. Why? Because knowledge never ever get old, huh? Or never ever, is become rotten. But if you have wealth, it get old and it get rotten. Eighth person can, and he asked the same question. So Amir al-Mu'mineen responded to him that knowledge is better. Why? Because when you depart from this dunya, wealth would remain in the dunya. But if you have knowledge, knowledge always be with you till the day of judgment. Even if you are in the Jannah, you have your knowledge with you. And a tenth person comes, after he sits down. A tenth person stands, and he said, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, which one is better? Knowledge is better, or the wealth is better?" So over here, Imam said, knowledge is better than the wealth. Why? Because if you have wealth, the it creates the wealth, it creates arrogance in you. But if you have knowledge, it does not create arrogance. It brings humility in your, it brings, humbleness in your character. So that is why, knowledge is better. And then, majlis become very lengthy, and all these people, and the rest of the people, and the khutbah was finished. So people, they were getting out. So here, reporter says that Amir al-Mu'mineen is still, he was standing, and he proclaimed, and he said, even entire people of the world, those who are existing on the surface of earth, even everyone asked me the same question, Ali ibn Abi Talib would respond the different answer to him. So knowledge, so over here, Amir al-Mu'mineen, of course, this riwayah is showing the excellences of Amir al-Mu'mineen, virtue of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that he was so knowledgeable. He said, even every person on the surface of us earth ask the same question, I will give the different reasoning about the knowledge, about same question. So over here, so one side, this riwayah is showing that Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was so knowledgeable. But on other hand, this riwayah is showing that knowledge is very valuable, that has unlimited, reasoning, which shows the merit of the knowledge. This is Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, in regard of the knowledge, we have so many ahadith, and there are many ayat. Only one ayah I would like to share with you, and it is of Surah Al-Baqarah. And over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presenting a story when Adam was about to be, when Adam about to send on the earth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. Very famous ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Malaika, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قَالُوا, when Allah said to angels that I'm about to create a vicegerent, my successor on the surface of earth. So angels, they said to Allah, Ya Allah, أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ وَقَالَ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. So angels, it's like, they had objection that you are creating a human being who is going to create violence on the earth, and who will shed the bloods on the surface of earth. And they said, Ya Allah, we worship you, and we, glorify you. So it's like, in other words, they were telling to Allah, Ya Allah, why don't you make us your vicegerent? Why don't you make us your Khalifa on the surface of earth? So because being a Khalifa, it was an honor for the human being, for the Adam alayhi salam. And we all are vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us on the surface of earth. And the more we are, representing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more honor we are having, and the more we are close to our, to the purpose of the creation. So angels, they objected on Allah, and they said, Ya Allah, we deserve. So Allah said, and what reasoning they gave? They said, Ya Allah, because we glorify you, nusabbihu wa nuqaddis, Ya Allah, we, do more tasbih, so we deserve it. So angels, they was thinking that the criteria of merit, criteria of being the vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the successor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the tasbih and the taqdees of Allah, or worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah said, no, this is not the criteria. Allah, first responded them, inni alamu ma la ta'lamun. I know better whom to make my vicegerent in the Khalifa. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can continue. And he said, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ فَقَالَ أَنْبِئُونِي بِأَسْمَاءِ هَؤُلَاءِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. So Adam alayhi salam was given a knowledge of the asma, or the names. And then what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because angels, they put objection before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, Allah has to respond them, that why Allah is making the Adam as his Khalifa, not the angels. So Allah collected all of them. They said, oh, you all have to come down. And so all one side they are an angel, on the other side there is Adam alayhi salam, who was created. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he brought the some anwar, and according to our riwayat, they are anwar, they were the lights of Ahlul Bayt, they were nur of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So Allah said, can you give me the names of these anwar? All the angels, they said, Ya Allah, we do not have knowledge. We have very little knowledge, and that is given to us by you. And a part of that, we do not have any knowledge. So here Adam alayhi salam was given the knowledge of asma of Ahlul Bayt. Only the names are taught to Adam alayhi salam. So when the anwar of Ahlul Bayt they brought before Adam, so Allah said, can you match these names with these, lights, or with these personality? Angels, they surrendered. They said, Ya Allah, we can't. Adam alayhi salam, when he looked at the word of Muhammad, Muhammad means the one who is praised. And Adam, he know that if someone is praised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he can be the only Muhammad. So when Adam alayhi salam looked at the beauty of Prophet Muhammad and his excellences, so Adam immediately he says, Hada Muhammadun. When Adam alayhi salam realized, and he felt that in this particular nur, there is a ulu, there is a exaltedness. So Adam, he said, Hada Aliyun. And so on. Adam alayhi salam, he gave the names of all the Panjatan, 5, Anwar, and this is how Adam alayhi salam was successful. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to mention over here, that the criteria of being my vicegerent is the knowledge. So knowledge is very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any merit he wants to give to a person, so it is all based on the knowledge. And that is why Amir Mu'minin said, Al-ilmu virathatun karima, that the knowledge, it is a inheritance which is a kareem, which is a noble. And that is why in one of the hadith about the merit of knowledge, Rasulullah said, إِذَا مَاتَ الْإِنسَانِ إِنْقَطَعَ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا بِثَلَاثٍ. When human being depart from this world, his action account is closed. Account of actions, is closed. Now you cannot add any credit of your action into the account. So the moment we depart from this dunya, inqata amalahu, the chapter of account is closed. So now our account is inactive, or in other words, we can say it is inactive. But illa bithalas, hadith says, but there are 3 things. If you left behind these 3 things, your account will remain open. Number 1, sadaqatun jariyah. If you have done something like sadaqah jariyah, you built a center, you built a mosque, you built a madrasa, or let's say you printed a Quran, you built a member, or you print a book. So these are called, sadaqatun jariyah. Or you dig a well, for example, you add sadaqatun jariyah, which benefit continue. So as long as people they are benefiting from that sadaqatun jariyah, the reward is adding into your account. Even you departed from this dunya, no problem. You are in hereafter, you are in alam al barzakh, you are in your grave, but your account is open. As long as people they are benefiting from the center, as long as people benefiting from the well. So this is called sadaqatun jariyah. Number two, al waladur rashid. If you left behind a child who is Rashid, who is pious child, so if you nurture a child nicely and he is on right path, the more, whenever he does good action, your portion is sent to your account. Your share is sent to your account. Your reward is continuing. So whenever, even child does not have any intention about his father, but parent reward is still, preserved and safe. So this is number two. Number three, ilmun yantafi'u bihin nas. It is knowledge. If you left behind a knowledge or an idea or any understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, understanding about the Ahlul Bayt, understanding about the religion, so as long as that idea would, remain in the heart of people, in mind of people, or it is implemented in the society, so your reward is preserved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing in this segment, or in this hikmah, in this word of wisdom, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, al-ilmu virathatun karima. Ilm, knowledge, is an inheritance which is noble inheritance. Number two, al-adabu hulalun mujaddada. That adab, etiquettes, they are hulalun mujaddada, means is a dress, Amir, beautiful interpretation over here he has given. That the akhlaq or the etiquettes, if someone has, it is similar that he has a dress which never ever get old. In dunya, when we have a dress, so after 1 month, 2 months, a year, our dress is get old. Now it does not have that shining, it does not have that beauty. But if someone has a dress which is called akhlaqi dress, if someone has a beautiful akhlaq in him, so it is like a dress. It never ever get old. So he's always beautiful. Why? Because what is the functioning of dress? When we put on the dress, so it makes us beautiful. So if we have beautiful dress, so this is the functioning of it. So Amir al-Mu'mineen says that if you have beautiful akhlaq, the way your dress beautify you, same way your akhlaq beautify you. So al-adabu hulalun mujaddada. That adab never ever get you or look never ever make you look awkward. It always makes you beautiful. And then if you have, you may have heard this hadith from my mouth, that Amir al-Mu'mineen in one of hadith he says, Haqqul walid ala waladihi thalat. That every child, he has 3 rights on the shoulder of his parent or his father, specifically father. Ala walidihi. That walid or the father, he has to pay 3 rights to his child. Number 1, an yuhassina ismahu, that the father, he has to give good name, beautiful name to his child. And it is a right of father, that, and it is a right of child on the father's shoulder, that he should give him a beautiful name. And of course the names, beautiful names, are the names of Ahlul Bayt. Number 2, وَيُعَلِّمُهُ الْقُرْآنِ, that father, he has to teach him the Quran. And when it comes to the Quran, we think that the teaching Quran means recitation of the Quran. Of course, recitation is one of the part of teaching Quran, but it is not all about the teaching of the Quran. Teaching of the Quran means that we have to understand the content of the Quran, and then we have to implement it into our life. So this is called teaching of the Quran, that it is responsibility of father that he has to teach his child the Quran. Make sure that your child has understand the meaning or the ma'rifah, he has the ma'rifah of the Quran, and he is implementing. So this is one of the responsibility of father. And the third one, an yu'addibuhu, that father has to teach his child the adab, etiquette, the akhlaq. This is the responsibility of father. Anyway, so Amir al-Mu'minin, he said that first thing, ilm, knowledge. Knowledge, it is a noble inheritance. And number two, al-adab. Al-adabu hulalun mujaddada. Adab, it is a dress which never ever get old. And the third thing, al-fikru mir'atun safiya. Thinking, contemplation, it is a mir'at. Meaning of mir'at means mirror. So Amir al-Mu'minin says, contemplation and the think or thought itself, it is a clean mirror. Sometimes we have a mirror which has a lot of dirt on it. So if mirror is dirty, it is not safiya, so it does not give you the proper picture. So Amir al-Mu'minin said, which mirror is the thought? Amir al-Mu'minin said the thought is similar to the mirror, which is a clear mirror. Why Amir al-Mu'minin is interpreting that the thought, your thought and your contemplation or your thinking is like a mirror? Because when you stand before the mirror, so what is the functioning of the mirror? Mirror gives you your own picture. You want to see your face, how beautiful it is, and is there dirt on my face or not, or is there defect in my body? So what happened? You come and you stand before the mirror. Mirror never ever speaks you, never ever tells you lie. It gives you the real picture. So Amir al-Mu'minin said that if you have power of thinking, if you have contemplation habit, so it gives you the real picture of the issue. But which thought? Again, we have two type of thought. Sometimes we have thought which is contaminated with our desires, which is contaminated with whispering of the shaitan. Sometimes we have a thought which is contaminated with which is filthy with the influence of our enemy. So if our thought is clean, it gives you the clear picture of your own self. So in other words, we can say that any issue we have, so we have to have thinking about it. We should not accept the talk of others. We should not accept the idea of anyone. We have to put it under the examination of our thought process and or contemplation. So if we contemplate nicely and precisely, then we will have the real picture. So these are the beautiful segment or the words of wisdom of Amir al-Mu'minin. Even if you look at the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also invite us that we have to have thinking. We have to think about the religion, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any issue that we have in our life, we have to process them with the thought process. So Quran says in Surah Sabah, verse number 46, Qul, Ya Rasulullah, tell them, Innama a'idukum. Allah said, I am giving you the piece of advice, biwahidatin, one piece of advice, and which is the most beautiful piece of advice. Allah is telling that I'm giving you, it is addressed to the all mu'minin, that one piece of advice which is very important from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an taqumu lillahi mathna wa furada, that you all have to stand individually or in group. ثُمَّ تَتَفَكَّرُوا, then have thought, then you have to think about the matters, about the issues. And if you think individually or in group, so in both way, sometimes when we examine things, we examine individually, sometimes we examine the things in group or in team. So in both way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us. And He said, I'm inviting you, I'm giving you this advice that you have to think about the religion. Then you will find that my prophet, he is not mad, he is not majnoon. So it's like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also putting emphasis on it. And that is why Rasulullah, he said a beautiful riwayah. He said, At-tafakkuru sa'atun afdalun min ibadati sana. That if someone, especially this riwayah, it is especially about the ulama, that if a alim, he think for 1 sa'a, 1 hour, 1 hour thought of a alim is equal to 70 years ibadah of a worshipper. What does it mean? And how you balance it? 70 years ibadah and 1 hour thought of a alim, thought of a marja, thought of a scholar is equal to the 70 years ibadah. And in that ibadah, there are worshipping of, there are namaz, there are hajj, and there are zakat, there are, all ibadah in 70 years. Can they be equal to 1 hour thought only when the scholar is sitting and he's sitting in his comfortable zone, having his tea and just thinking? So how do you reconcile it? So here ulama they said, because when a worshipper worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so he think only one, and he has only one target, that he has to achieve the success. He has to achieve prosperity in his life. But when a scholar think for 1 hour, he's not thinking about himself. He's thinking about entire, community. He's thinking about the entire humanity. So that is why, Rasulullah said, if a alim think for an hour, so it is better than the worshipping of a worshipper of 70 years. Wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to implement all these characteristics those are mentioned by our beloved Mawla Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib. Wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات وإنك منزل البركات وإنك على كل شيء قدير. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة.